Hello and welcome back to Artifact Cup 30. This is round 2, so all of these games will be played on the Boneyard in this round-robin tournament. This is, I believe, the third game that I've cast of Artifact Cup 30. This is going to be between Coercer, somebody who I've played with quite a bit and know a whole lot about his playstyle, and Mordax Praetorian, who I know very little about as far as his play. I have cast my game in round 1 in this Artifact Cup that I played against him, so I know a little bit about what he did there, but I haven't really seen him play a whole lot. He's not a completely unfamiliar name. I think I've seen him before. Maybe I'm just imagining that. But in any case, here he is in the black Soban carrier.
Proceed to RU site.
Starting right off with LAV Fab, so I'm going to watch that, see what he does with that. And his opponent on the other side of the map is Coercer, who, as I said, I've played a whole lot. I take credit for getting him into Galcian. He gets credit for becoming an absolute beast at the Galcian. He especially likes using carrier, but lately has been using all kinds of Galcian trickery, so we're going to see what he does. It looks like he's retiring his base runner, opening up a Sandskimmer fabrication, a little bit later than the LAV Fab from Mordax, so that shouldn't really matter, because even if Mordax did push out with heavy LAV production, there's still, Coercer can still defend with his carrier guns and get a few Sandskimmers out, so
LAV construction complete.
Nothing crazy here. This is the Boneyard. If you haven't seen the other games in round 2, go ahead and watch those as well. Those are up on my channel. I'm just going to be proceeding through down the bracket, left to right, so gonna hit them all eventually, hopefully. Luckily, all of the Artifact Cup 30 games are just best of 1, so every pair of players plays exactly once, and then that's it. There's no elimination or anything like that, so whoever wins or loses a game, both of them will go on to play in the next round, where there's another map predetermined for them, and everybody gets to play 9 games. So Mordax is doing something very good. He's getting a lot of sensor coverage out. Coercer has sensor coverage from his base runner scanner there, and is also poking out here with a few sand skimmers. All told, while having that huge sensor net is very good, especially if you're not used to scouting, it can also be, I should say, that's the first step in scouting in Deserts of Kharak. You want to establish that sensor web exactly the way that Mordax did that. Just throw a few, small strike craft out there. You can then bring them together as a unit like this to fight and bring more force to bear.
An LAV has been lost.
Coercer is making very good use of this hill, by the way, to sort of cull some of Mordax's units without taking many losses himself. Mostly by just staying on the safe side where only 1 or 2 of Mordax's units were. But as I was saying, establishing that sensor net, very useful. The next step is get your scouts like way up here. Get them way up here. Be able to figure out, read the salvagers and see based on what salvagers are where and how they're positioned. Most players leave their salvagers, they like right click on the resources, and then they don't really move them from there. So you can kind of tell based on where the salvagers are sitting, where they were moved from, and therefore in what order the user or the player was salvaging, and therefore what their resource priority is, and then you can kind of get a hint as to their build order. It's not perfect information, but it's something. So we've been watching Coercer Sandskimmers whittle down Mordax's base runner here, which will die. And this targeting jammer might have bought it just enough time to get in. I'm not really sure if it mattered. My guess is that the targeting jammer didn't really make a big difference, but it's possible, especially because it absorbed a few hundred hit points of fire there, that it did make the difference. Let's check out tech. Mordax has AAV tech. He's going to be producing a few of those now. He didn't produce those as quickly as he could have, probably because I'm guessing he was distracted down here with that base runner getting the artifact in. But he's going to build a few AAVs. It's going to help him defensively, but he's sort of beyond the point of being able to use these AAVs offensively in order to strike Coercer's carrier, at least for a little while, for a couple reasons. One, we're 4.5 minutes into the game. It is getting a little late for that. Also, Coercer already has railguns out. So Coercer's building a few assault railguns and is going up on missile ship attack. So this is a preemptive move. There's nothing really to read there as far as like is Coercer doing something crazy with air or anti-air. Not really. He's being safe.
Hostile contact on the board.
So if Coercer plays this right, he's going to dance around with these sand skimmers and never really engage with them. It looks like that's what he's doing. He's going to kind of run away from these AAVs, dance around, distract them, force them to move around, do things like, you know, force this railgun to fire so that Coercer now knows, well, Mordax has railgun tech and is producing railguns. In this situation, there's no real point in engaging, but these units can move forward. And depending on what Coercer does here, this could be great for him or terrible for him. The reason I say that is these assault railguns are very short range, and these Soban railguns can just pick off these railguns at range, while the AAVs provide vision. So, Coercer is rightly retreating here, and he should really be getting this heavy railgun to bear, because the heavy railgun can really fire back on those Soban railguns, and also do really good damage on these AAVs. It still is just not firing, even though it did have a line of sight there for a moment. Now, Mordax's AAVs being separated from the railguns by this dune means that Coercer was able to do a good job there.
A railgun has been lost.
And Coercer nicely gets these sand skimmers right on top of the railguns.
Hostile railgun has opened
Or excuse me,
fire.
yeah, that was Coercer getting the sand skimmers on top of the railguns. The AV is not really quite coming in soon enough to save them.
Hostile strike craft eliminated.
And so the save and grace from Mordax here, the thing that's going to kind of keep him from losing all of his units here, is this ALM, because it forces these assault railguns to go back. Coercer may be a little bit aggressive there with the railguns, losing more than he had to, but on the other hand, is keeping Mordax at bay and keeping him from snowballing with his superior coalition production. Behind all this, Coercer is getting power reserve. He's got power reserve, level 2, getting up to 3. So this is really nice by Coercer. He's put a probe, or a scanner, right behind that dune so that Mordax's units can't fire upon it, but it gives Coercer perfect vision for his railguns, heavy railguns here, to fire with. And so these units that were in this kind of nice little spot here, kind of protected over from this dune, now have to go back. And, you know, I guess this railgun can hit that scanner now, but it's going to take a little while, and gives Coercer time to really just clean up and push forward.
Ready alert. All stations. Hostile carrier approaching AO. Awaiting orders.
Mordax here is, I think, actually doing exactly the right thing now. He's building just all of the railguns. In this kind of situation, you need to build all the railguns, maybe move them over here. Have just like 1 or 2 scouts. I think he needs like a couple LAVs. Or maybe just use ALMs as his scouts. He is Soban after all. And just get tons of railguns. Blob up the railguns, use all 3 of those production lanes, and overwhelm Coercer's railgun forces for a few reasons. One, these are assault railguns, meaning that if you can catch them early, so, you know, rather than moving forward like this, if Mordax moves his railguns back, please pull them back, please pull them back, then the assault railguns wouldn't be able to close closely enough. Oh, and this railgun's gonna really go down to these assault railguns. These railguns were also kind of screwing their own line of sight here by trying to hide over this dune. So we're going to see if maybe... It looks like now Mordax is doing pretty good damage on these assaults, but by now the carrier is in. So what I was going to be saying here is that if the railguns of Mordax pull back in this broad open area, then they can do damage to the carrier and also screen off all these railguns. If you saw, there was a little yellow blip here coming out from one of Mordax's railguns. That's using the mark target ability. And I wasn't sure if Mordax was using that on 1 or maybe more of his railguns here, but that's very good for doing damage against the carrier. The problem being that he didn't fully eliminate these assault railguns, and now his superior production building all those railguns is kind of, it's a moot point now, because he didn't do enough damage numerically to Coercer here. It's true that Coercer's assault railguns don't do as much damage as the Soban railguns, but the real key here for the Soban player, I think, is that you can outproduce the Gaussian. So if you can maintain those numbers and just kind of, you know, outproduce, outrange, and win the war of attrition against the Galcian, then the Galcian are going to have a lot of trouble, because the Galcian's defense against all those attrition losses is the regen, the automatic regen ability, which is what's going to make this heavy railgun here from Coercer just come back to full health. Unfortunately for Mordax, he has lost the momentum with his railguns, and Coercer's carrier is right on top of Mordax's carrier, just kind of destroying every railgun that comes out of here as it pops out before the railguns can even get off a shot. So, at this point, I'm going to kind of call this game over. There's not really much Mordax can do here. He doesn't have battlecruiser tech, for example, which would be a potential way. Well, if you were Coalition, maybe it would be a potential way. As a Soban player, there's not even really much he can do.
Engage engine. A sensor post has been lost.
He doesn't have aircraft either to counter these. So, I would say, advice for Mordax: getting aircraft when you see railguns being used, like when the fights were kind of going on over here, is a very good move. Granted, Coercer did have the counter available for that, but you can still use aircraft even in the presence of missile ships. It becomes a little more difficult, but you can just make sure that you're always using your missile ships, using your aircraft where the missile ships aren't covering. It's typically pretty easy to do that, because if you can kind of move your forces around, the railguns will follow and the missile ships will be too slow to follow. Second piece of advice: if you have the ranged railguns, which if you're Soban you do, especially when going up against these Galcian assault railguns, which are pretty short range, then take advantage of that range. You don't need to fight right on top of those assault railguns, and you don't need to keep the assault railguns from getting into your resources, because if you have your railguns standing off and just freely firing upon the assault railguns, they'll be dead real soon anyway. You might lose a salvage or two. Who cares? Coercer would just lose all of his railguns. There, Mordax's carrier is going to finally go down to all those railguns. I give him plenty of credit for sticking around until the bitter end. And until round 3, we're not going to see any more Mordax and Coercer, but stay tuned, because round 3 will be coming soon. There are just 2 more games in round 2 on the Boneyard in Artifact Cup 30. Thank you for watching.